So this is the first week of our Asteroid Belt tournament, 4-week tournament, 4 teams of 9 to 10 players each, and 48 total matches.
Introduce us about the teams.
Alright, so our 4 teams, we have the Asteroid Alpacas, the Bull Market Beltalota, the Cosmic Circus, and Disco Donkeys. So we have Death Tacticus from Team Disco Donkeys, Hexpuss from Cosmic Circus, Trat Pinguino, I guess, still, from Asteroid Alpacas, and Morgan from the Bull Market Beltalota. I am Blues. I'm here with Fahi, and we are playing a game on Io. What do you think about this map?
Okay, this is resources. Resources are scattered around the place. But being an Io, we will have plenty of iron, plenty of uranium, and we also have plenty of enough carbon for everyone.
Yeah, most of the carbon is located in the northeast, which will be interesting.
Okay. The Tacticus with the aluminum-oriented found. Aluminum is cheap. Aluminum was expensive. Still was cheap. I think it will give him a fast start. 13 win with elite found. Interesting. Fuel start, which is also strong. And we have a robot, standard robot, and standard nomad.
Yep. I do like the nomad found a lot with the glass colony, has strong access to the silicon. I mean, everyone will have some access with basalt everywhere, but this should help Morgan get off to a pretty quick start.
What's interesting about threats found is that because fuel was high, he gets high profits from fuel at the start. But because everyone except for Morgan skipped steel in the start, he had to buy some. But thankfully, being elite, still upgrade is a bit cheaper, so it will be not so much difficult as other factions would happen.
Yeah, that change definitely helping him out a bit. Also nice for him to get those ion collectors down before carbon really goes up in price, since he will not have easy access to that this game. Most of the good carbon already being taken.
Power is rising fast. I think people will need to worry about it about now or next HQ.
Yeah, Morgan probably should have the easiest time into power. Death Tacticus normally I would think would have an easy time, but he's been auto-selling steel this whole time, so I'm not quite sure how that's gonna go.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Death-wise, Hexapus is in the best spot to getting power money. But he's getting into other markets first. I think he's waiting for steel to come in.
Right, he's definitely a bit low on resources. He's getting his first nuclear plant up now. With all the adjacency from the uranium tiles, that should be pretty nice, but it also won't quite be enough to propel him into power money, I think.
Threat also started push into power, first to build nuclear plant, and also Goon 1 power.
Yep, definitely a strong play there, especially with the circuit overloads available. You cannot leave those undefended. Morgan opting for geotherms. Not a bad choice on Io especially. He's not going to have access to the uranium in particular. That's not such a big problem with multiple people in basalt, but the water price will get out of control before too long. So this sidesteps that pretty neatly.
Everyone got into power about at the same time, so I think it will be under control very soon.
Yep. PT going into 3 power plants, none of them on the basalt, which is fine with uranium this low. I am curious what he's planning to do with these tiles after power dies out, though. There's not much.
Probably patent lab?
Yeah, 1 patent lab probably works out. Maybe an optimization center, maybe another aluminum mine or something, but he already has almost enough aluminum for whatever he wants to do. Elevator's not tremendously strong this game.
Okay, DT is first to get into building pattern lab, but Threat has bought 70 chemicals.
Luckily for DT, chemicals did start low enough this game that he should still have no problems with that. Trat also going to a patent lab of his own now. I'll be curious to see when he ends up going into this Pleasure Dome, since that should be quite good for him.
The previous EMP on Threat's territory did a good job on stopping Threat from getting power money and getting the elite special buildings established as soon as possible. So Threat is being slowed down enough for DT's perspective, I think.
Always a good idea to keep the elite a bit lagging behind, otherwise things can get out of hand very quickly. Threat opting to slow down Strike DT's patent lab just to try to keep that more even. Not wanting to pay so many chems to DT if he has to end up licensing things. But Morgan returning the favor. And making sure he has a very solid lead into HQ5 well before anyone hits HQ4. He'll always have to be a bit worried about nomads on Io though.
Currently, water is the most profitable market, and I think Nomad is Morgan is the best spot in producing them.
Done a good job securing strong access to oxygen. He is already in all this water. He has enough fuel down since everyone has some fuel down. Looking pretty good. And he held on to a lot of fuel through that radiation storm, and that should serve him well. Moving into some farms.
And optimization centers. One center.
Sold.
Take her away to DT.
There are spies on the
Wonder
market.
what he's going to do.
I fully expect other players to spy that out at some point if they don't forget. But until then, until later in the game, he can probably get something done with this, since it's hard to counter it this early.
Okay, Threat just bought a spy on there. Keeping an eye on it.
Still inactive for the moment though.
Okay, this was nice EMP on Morgan, because Hexapus is getting profit from life support right now.
HQ has been upgraded.
Yep, definitely a strong move there. Expos a bit behind at the moment, but does always have that nice late game advantage on IO as a robot, not having to pay those life support costs, which generally do go very high.
I think Threat getting late in Pleasure Dome is lagging him down more than he would have expected.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It would be a pretty nice source of money in a game where there's not many strong sources of profit. But he is still picking up some patents, and they will help him along here. Still no Pleasure Dome planned though. Even a nice 4 adjacency spot if you chose. Morgan going ahead and optimizing water and food. Which
Like that move?
maybe would like to see some in chems too. He's just queued one up, so that should all just be excellent for him. I'm still a bit curious what Morgan's plan for finishing this game out is, though. Because he has a solid lead, but that's not going to keep up unless he does something more than just optimizations, I think. Okay. ET surplusing electronics. I imagine he will be making a strong push into elevators. Has he grabbed transparent aluminum? Yes. That would be cheap for him if he had enough aluminum, which he does not. Might
He can
consider.
get into it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard for him to do that. But he needs
But
to
it
actually
doesn't
do it.
seem like he's getting into it right now.
He might be. I think this extra iron collector is sort of preparing to move out of one of the other ones.
A dirty rat trying to break our stuff.
Still no pleasure though.
Yep. From anyone. Oh, Morgan going for the buy onto DT. This will be interesting.
DT cancels out of his optimizing center
Right.
to get the money from it.
Should be able to defend himself pretty easily.
Stock is being sold.
And now there's no real alternative for Morgan. He does want to go into Hexpuss, but that's not gonna go any better, I don't think.
When you buy a player full stocks and sell out, do you lose 10% of entire money you spend buying them?
It depends on the sequencing of the stock buys. Morgan definitely lost some amount of money there. I don't know exactly how much. But if you can manage the stock buys in such a way that you get a small number of stock buys done before your opponent gets some equal or larger amount, you can make some profit off of that. It generally doesn't happen though. And I don't think when you get to 4, it's likely that you ever run into that.
Congratulations.
Or sample for 5k.
Finally, a pleasure dome from Trat.
Yep.
And chemical is cheap, so it will be no problem supporting it.
Making a robust probably 350-ish once chemicals actually get there.
The optimization has been upgraded online. Let the
Probably closer to 400 now.
500? 600?
I don't know. I just wish this number is a little more useful. 411.
4, okay.
Very solid. And that is without virtual reality, so that's gonna be really nice really soon.
He will need to get into Battle Lab again to get that. And I recommend, because the market is dying now. So I think players should be prepared to build elevators. For that reason, I like DT spot. He has 700 aluminum secured, and other players are not.
Right. Morgan also
Maybe
has
wooden.
yeah, he has strong access
Maybe
to
wooden.
aluminum, but I'm not sure he's pushing in that direction quite yet. It's concerning. But yeah, I like Trat spot, I like DT spot.
DT first building space elevator,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
right there.
thinking machine.
Yep, thinking machines and Goond.
market misinformation in progress. Optimization routine successful.
It's still that Pleasure Dome. Okay, I guess it's not quite that good anymore.
A robotics HQ has been upgraded.
That is first into electronics, which should be important. As people start pushing into all those elevators, that price is going to rise a lot. And if he gets a lot of optimizations done quickly, he can make a really strong push off of that. That is doing interesting things with stock though. Maybe that was a misclick into Morgan.
Yeah, I think so.
Have advanced our production.
So this is a nice move on Trat. I think because DT was not in a position to defend himself for a long game. So Trat wants DT to go down as soon as possible when he's in D-Dead and
Yeah.
it has the stock open. I wonder though if Trat will be able to gather enough money to finish the buy before DT makes enough money to attack Trat.
Right, I have the same concern. I don't see an amazing source of income for Trat. He has some in the Pleasure Dome, some in the electronics, but not all that much else going for him that well right now. I guess Basalt is okay. But yeah, DT with this elevator and everything else should be able to pay off a fair amount of debt and start buying back into Tret. And then he will be dragged into a longer game. Meanwhile, Morgan would be left alone to build his own elevators. So Hexbus has been catching up, that whole robot thing coming into play.
Morgan is mining a lot of aluminum. I think he's preparing for elevator, although he sold out of it a lot, so it gave aluminum to DT, I think? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure who ended up getting all that.
I think it should be DT. DT is building second elevator.
Morgan also going into a second elevator, but he's just much more vulnerable to these slowdown strikes, to circuit overloads into mutinies, any mix of those things. We'll see how that goes.
DT needs 100k more to buy out DT, which should be 150 or more after DT starts buying out and starts getting into threat stock.
Yeah. Really am concerned about Rat here. I mean, he might end up getting the buy on DT, but then he won't have elevators of his own. Maybe that slows him down enough where Xpus and Morgan can take him down together, something like that. On the other hand, these superconductor nuclear plants are amazing. These chems are pretty darn good. And prices are generally high enough to sustain him a fair amount at the moment.
Yeah. The market revived from being completely dead from moderately alive.
Oh, okay, this is interesting. Morgan pushing into Tret?
He wants to finish this as soon as possible. I mean, Tret wants to.
Yeah, he looks like he's very much determined to finish off the buy on DT, not going to switch targets to Morgan, which is probably the right play, but...
I agree. Having a sub with 2 elevators is equivalent to having 2 on your own, so...
True. DT has been paying off a lot of debt though, so this is just going to keep getting more and more difficult for Tret to finish off. He's not far off still.
Oh, it was like 10k close, but it's now
20.
30k close.
Should still be there before long.
So at this point, do you think Morgan should start buying into his own stock or hold as much money as possible?
I think he should just hold on to the money. I don't think he can win in a long game against Tret, and so he just needs to be in a position to try to finish this buy as soon as possible after Tret gets that done.
I still think that Tret should have gone into additional Petnap again and get some niche patterns. Virtual reality would have paid a lot if he did it earlier.
Yeah, definitely.
Liquid batteries would be good. Synthetic meat would have been good as well.
Yep, lots of options there.
Our methods continue to improve.
100%?
Yep. Alright. And Morgan get 400k before Tret gets something like 600?
700?
Assuming he leaves those stacks open. Be interesting.
I mean, the longer Morgan delays it, the better Tret is, I think.
On the upside for Morgan, there is always the option of mutinying some of DT's elevators. I guess he does have thinking machines, so it's not as tempting as it normally would be to attack a sub.
Successful elevator shipment. Profits rising. The black market is open for business.
Oh, I didn't notice
Right.
this. I didn't notice this was going on for Morgan. He has these 2 carbon quarries way out here. He hasn't repaired them yet.
Oh,
But if he does, that should be a strong source of income for him. I hope he does notice soon.
IO,
Yep.
diminishing carbon.
I'm very uncomfortable with Morgan continuing to buy into his own stock. He's still in a decent position. He only needs another 200k at this point. 240.
And he has 100k in his stock.
Right. Elevators are a lot weaker now. Did someone buy into Oxygen? No, it's just been the constant launching. I wonder if someone's going to notice and switch launches soon. It would be a much better launch at this point.
Congratulations.
Morgan is launching oxygen. DT, being AI, is launching chemical and fuel. Exodus is launching oxygen. Yeah. Suboptimal launches.
Elevator going up.
Morgan also still has 3 return claims left. He could pretty easily go into more oxygen, and that would be really nice right now, but still looks to be in a very strong position.
I'm expecting the fuel to spike soon. Not many people are in surplus of them.
Successful elevator shipment. Profits rising.
Okay. So, 100k before Trat gets 300. Should happen. Then I'm
I
curious
think
what...
Morgan has it.
Yeah. Curious what happens with the Hexpuss fight. Hexpuss managing to make a lot of money off of his 2 elevators, off of being a robot.
How could one refuse such a wonderful plot of land?
This territory is interesting. Could use a bit of help.
If Morgan finishes the buy at this stock, I think Morgan will win. I'm not sure what will happen if Threat sells out and Hex get into the stock.
So,
I think still Morgan wins in this case.
Probably. It would depend in part, I guess, on how much stock Pratt manages to sell out of, but yeah, once Morgan gets the buy done, he should be at like an $80, $90 stock price or something. Hexpuss could buy out Morgan, but that would absolutely be a mistake. Okay. Once these 2 launches done, we should see the red button.
space elevator delivery. So much money. Elevator going up.
Threat is nanotech. Threat is buy.
Oh!
Wow.
Whoa. Morgan had the red button for
Wow.
a few seconds there.
Wow.
That was nicely done on Trap, though, not panicking, getting that nanotech done, finishing that buy. And I think he should be in a strong position to finish off Hexpuss still.
Yeah. 2 sub, 2 full sub with elevators. And Threat himself has good optimizations. Not everywhere, but some.
Yeah. Interesting that he never optimized oxygen. That seems like something that should have been prioritized. Also never picked up carbon this game.
It's crazy now. Carbon, oxygen.
You have 1 more claim. You can cave off of a carbon or something. I guess he did have this quarry. Just repairing.
Will Hexapus earn 500k first, or will Threat earn 600k first? I think this is on Threat now.
Yeah. I mean, Trat also, I think, has more room to improve his stock price. And probably will. I don't know if your calculation included that. Trat may be in a little too much food now. Still has some empty claims sitting around everywhere. Not quite sure what to do with them, I guess. And prices are just
I
that
guess it doesn't
awkward.
have to care.
That's fair. Maybe he can just sit back and let his subs take care of everything for him. Does feel like a mistake to me that Hexbus hasn't bought in another share yet. There's really no reason for that. Trat holding off on buying into Hexbus makes some amount of sense, I guess, but not a ton either. I don't know.
The black market is online.
I think Threat should be buying to Hexapus, although I think Threat has it, but it will protect him just in case,
Right.
because it raises his own stock price.
Like, the only reason I see for Trat not to buy in is that it gives Hexbus more money from selling out of stock. And I guess maybe it's paying off in that sense now, since Hexbus is selling off prematurely. But maybe that wasn't it either. Alright, should have the red button any moment. And Trat
He has it.
Pinguino will win our first IO game of the tournament.
Congratulations to the Asteroid Alpaca team.
No bias there, of course. But yeah, it was a very well played game by everyone, I think. Everyone had a pretty strong position by the end of the game. I think good stock plays from Trad, from Morgan. Hexbus, pretty standard stock play, I guess. He had fewer choices since he was a bit behind most of the game, but he made the most of it and made a nice comeback. Made a lot of money off of Carbon.
Well played. I like DT's play on preparing the elevator, and I liked Threat's play on road and ignoring off road and going entirely into off road, entirely into optimizations. And I liked Morgan's early lead, which almost connected in the buy. And Hexapus was in the behind, but he could have hoarded a lot of money, which could have gone into formidable direction if he had an opportunity to get some stocks beforehand.
Right, just ended up a little too far behind to really affect anything. Ended up in a position where he had to just take whatever he could instead of being able to choose things. Did a really nice job getting this 3 adjacency elevator up to help him back into things in particular. Just wasn't quite enough. Tret, I don't know. Definitely did a lot of things right. Still wonder about the patents that he never picked up, still wonder about not getting this Pleasure Dome down sooner, but it really doesn't matter, I guess. DT, I don't know. Like you said, I liked his game plan. I don't know exactly what happened there. Maybe he's just trying to make this found work a little too much. Not
I think
quite.
it was a nice timing on Threat buying to DT. DT had no money to defend himself.
Yeah, that's fair.